are we doing, guys? We're back again with another edition of the player ratings. Today, we're going to go through the midfielders. We're going to go through the midfielders today. Before we get kicked off, guys, we're going to mention our fantastic partnership with Scarito, a new fantasy football game, a unique fantasy football game. It's a combination of fantasy football and predictions. So basically, you pick 4 scorers from each round of the European Championships, which starts next week. And you predict the score from each round, and you also predict the winner. It's a fantastic game. Yeah, I didn't just want to join because Phil Miles was getting quite confident on Monday. Very confident was Phil that he was going to win this. So join just to beat Phil. That's the main motivation here, guys. Check it out. The link is in the description down below. So check that out, guys. It's a combination of fantasy football and predictions. Totally free to enter. It would cost you $2.99 to join other leagues, but to join All These TV's league, it is totally free to enter. So let's get into the player rating. So we're going to go through 7 players who have played around midfield this season. We're going to go from the lowest average to the highest. So let's start with the lowest. First of all, who do you reckon it is? Who do you reckon has averaged the lowest on our player ratings out of the midfielders this season?
Click.
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 I can't say that.
Click, Troy. Click.
Okay. Phil?
I think if we're including Pablo and Shackleton, I'd probably go Shackleton. But if we're not, based on
We are.
Chris Kelly's given Tyler Roberts, I'm going to have to go Tyler Roberts.
You were right first time, mate. It is Jamie Shackleton. I'll be honest, I'm surprised he's played this many times, to be honest. 15 appearances seems a lot, that, over the season. Averaging 6 over the season, 15 appearances, 5 starts, no goals, no assists. I mean, I don't know. It almost feels difficult to rate him, but I think he's just done okay when he's played. I think he had a cracking game up at Villa, down at Villa, earlier in the season where we won 3-0. But other than that, I don't think he's either been good or bad. I just have hardly noticed him. I mean, Phil, what's your take being on Shaqs this season? I've been a bit disappointed by how little he's played.
Yeah, we were talking just before we came on air, and I think we were all a bit surprised that he had made that many appearances. And apart from that one at Villa, I was just thinking, like, has he ever actually played more than 10 minutes apiece? He just gets... What? Okay.
I've gone full on Jurgen Klopp / Tony Pulis tonight, haven't I?
Old Tony Pulis.
Yeah. Well, it's not so good, that, is it, really?
No, I think 6 out of 10 is probably a fair reflection of it's as good as we can give him, because he's not been given a chance, I don't feel. I think when we got promoted, I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen a lot more of him, but he's just not, whether it's because he's not got himself into Bielsa's thought process enough, or whether he's just not being given fair opportunity. I think he's now falling into that category of, do we send him out on loan to get him game time? I think a lot more than Tyler Roberts in this instance. I think he's just not getting the minutes here that he was getting last season.
Yeah, I mean, I'd loan him. I'd loan him out in the summer, to be honest. Championship club, let him play a 46-game season in the Championship. I don't know, what do you think, Jack and Tash? I mean, loan him out?
I think loan him out. But I think, like you say, it is hard to say what a rating is, because, he comes on and he's only had, 632 minutes. So that's not a lot to judge on at all. And I do think as well what you were saying about, like, is it his thought process, like not getting in his thought process? Well, I think so, because Roberts, he's not stood out to us, but he obviously has with Bielsa in the training. So Shackleton probably hasn't stood out in training to get them minutes. Like we say about, like, he's just not been given enough minutes or enough opportunity, but his opportunities in the training clearly like Roberts, and he's not been given that. So he must not be performing that well.
I mean, there's not much to talk about on Shaqs, is there, really? I mean, I'm just looking through his games. I mean, I think he's featured twice, since this side of the new year. So, I mean,
I think he has struggled with fitness, hasn't he? There's been times where he's missed out on minutes because there has been that space for him and he's not been fit at the time. In this squad, if you're not first choice, you have to be fit when you're called upon, and unfortunately for him, I just don't think he was at the right times this season.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Me personally, I do think the kid. I like him. I do. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Jamie. He's so honest. His endeavour, everything about him. I don't think it's about fitness with him because for me, if you look at him, he's 100 mile an hour. No matter what he does, everything's 100 mile an hour. It reminds me of Lewis Cook when he were here. Everything was 100 mile an hour with him. But it's just obviously, is it just that next level? You know, that next level midfielder. Is he there? Will he ever be there? It's an hard one to look at. I mean, we don't see him train every day. And, you know, I don't know if he is going to ever be at that level. I don't know. I'm not one of the, but like his size as well. He's only little and he's tiny. Is midfield at the right position for him when you like up against someone like De Bruyne, Fernandinho, you know, them kind of players that are just powerhouses. You know, I don't know. It's an hard one, but, you know, I'm just not sure that he's going to be cut out for a side that are going to be trying to push for the top 6. As much as I don't like him, that's just my honest opinion.
What numbers do we reckon then out of 10? I'm gonna say 6. I'm gonna say 6 out of 10. Don't think he's been particularly bad, so I can't quite go as low as a 5. But I'm not going to argue too much if you guys think a 5. Phil?
No, I agree with you, mate. I think a 5 would be harsh. He hasn't done anything wrong. It's just that he's not really been given the opportunity when he's played. I think we've always had the same sort of opinion of Shaq. When he comes on, he does look exciting. A bit like Vader, maybe not as skillful, but when he comes on the pitch, he's got energy. There's nothing wrong with his endeavour. 6, I think, is fair. It's just average, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, Jack, any objection to a 6?
I think that's the right. You know, 5, you're talking. You're straight at 50-50 average, and I think he deserves a little bit more than that for me. Yeah, 6 for me as well.
Okay, it's been mostly 6s. It's been mostly 6s, to be fair. So I think we'll settle on the old 6, won't we? To be fair, but I mean, for me, it's almost a case of Shaq's. Is that as you say then, Jack? He's 100 mile an hour. I think he's got to be a bit less of that for me. He's got to maybe at times be a bit cuter. Maybe put his foot on the ball from time to time, and just slow it down from time to time. I think. I love he's such a likeable player though, in terms of like when you see someone coming through, he's exactly what you want. You know, he's hard working, he's energetic, he's everything about him. But maybe just now he needs to be a bit cuter from time to time.
And like you say, he's a Leeds lad as well, so you get to the club, he's a Leeds fan, you know, and I really, really, really hope he has a future. I do. We love to see likes of him and Calvin and these young ones come through that are actually Leeds born and bred, you know. So I hope he has a future. I mean, he wouldn't be there if they didn't think he was good enough. He wouldn't be there if they don't think he's good enough. So, yeah, I do. You know, another pre-season there might prove himself that he's worthy of a start, or you know, he's pushing 100% to get that starting shirt next year.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next player on the average. Who do you reckon is next after Jamie Shackleton? So we're working our way up now.
It's going to be Tyler, isn't it?
Okay.
I think, again, probably just based on minutes. Pablo, I would imagine.
Okay. Well, next up is Tyler. It is Tyler Roberts. 28 appearances, probably a lot more than what we'd have expected at the start of the season. 15 starts, quite a lot of those coming in the back end of the season. 1 goal, 2 assists, and an average of 6.22. It's a hard one, Tyler, because I think he started off the season very badly, to be honest. I don't think he looked at all ready for this level. I think, to be fair, I think out of the whole squad, he was probably one of the favourites to go out on loan or maybe possibly even move on in January. But he seemed to, I think it was around after that Crawley game, he played a couple of games, looked sharp. Then he had a decent game down at Arsenal when he came on and almost got back into the game from 4-0 down. He came on at 4-0 down, we finished 4-2. And then got himself, a bit more involved. And again, you feel like, for me, with Tyler, it feels like there's more coming. It does feel like there's more coming. It's just been an average kind of season. I think it's kind of what I was expecting from Tyler at this level, that it's taken him a bit of time to develop. But a couple of good games towards the end. He gets himself that first goal against Southampton. I mean, Jack, your overall impression of Tyler this season?
I'm going to probably get a lot of stick here, but I absolutely love Tyler Roberts. I do, right? The amount of times I've watched Tyler Roberts play, and when you watch it, right, I know this year, obviously, everyone's watched on telly, and I'm the first to admit that Tyler Roberts sometimes makes the wrong decision. You have the ball, he might try too many touches. But I have watched Tyler Roberts live, and the amount of unselfish runs that he actually makes for his teammates, and that is what I see all the time. And that is what, obviously, Bielsa must see that. He must see something else because he continually keeps picking him. The unselfish that he actually does. But when you watch it on telly, all that anyone ever picks up on is that he'll give the ball away or he'll lose it in a promising position, which is very, very frustrating. But I'm a massive fan of Tyler Roberts, and I would not like to see him go. I would not like to see him go. I'd love to see him again here next year. Give him more of a chance, see how he goes on, and then if next year he's going to develop into the player that I actually think he is.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. And also, I will admit, I was absolutely delighted when he got his goal. I was delighted for him that he got his Premier League goal because he has tried so hard. But again, I think everyone looks at him as in they just all look at the times when he does actually lose the ball, which all the best players in the world do lose the ball. I'm not putting him in that category, but I do think he gets a lot of unfair criticism. I do. But that's just my opinion. Obviously people will not agree with me, but that's just my opinion.
Totally agree. I totally agree, man. I think there's been times this season when he's just been absolutely just hammered. We've won games and he's got hammered, and you're thinking, I don't know. I don't know what it is about Tyler. I don't know if it's because he's a little bit more. He seems a bit more laid back. I don't know. His kind of his body language compared to the other players can seem a bit more relaxed. I'm not sure what it is. But I do feel like next season he kicks on for me. I do genuinely think next season he does kick on.
I really hope so.
I think the thing a lot of people got annoyed at as well was that he was laughing in that post-match interview.
I think that, again, that was another thing. I think that was really unfair criticism because I don't think he's never done a post-match, has he? And I think he was nervous. I mean, he's a young lad, and he's getting asked these questions. He's probably not. I can't even remember him doing any post-match interviews, and he's probably got a little bit of that nervous laughter. You have it yourself, when you're just under pressure, you just do that nervous laughter. And I just think that Tyler, he gets an awful lot of unfair criticism from me. But,
That sums it up for me, though. If we all love Calvin Phillips, but if Calvin Phillips does that, no one's batting an eyelid. Luke Ayling does it. No one's batting. Everyone's probably saying at that point, "Oh, it's great. He feels so positive that he's not downbeat." But I think it's the fact it's Tyler. It's like, it's more reason to get on his back, isn't it?
I think Tyler's been the Bamford for this year, hasn't he? He's been Tyler for me. He has. But,
Phil, what's your take been on Tyler, Phil?
I think the general average that we've got there is probably a little bit, like Jack just said, agenda-driven in the first half of the season with people getting on his back. Perhaps if we were a bit more supportive with him, that general average number there would be a bit higher. I think first half of the season, we did have every right to be on his back a little because the performances quality level wasn't high enough. Second half of the season, I think he put together a strong run of games that were consistently good. I think he was incredibly unlucky with a few different games with VAR when it came to assists that were ruled out, goals that were ruled out. And, there was times where he'd been on a fantastic run. He'd get that one chance and he'd balloon it. And I think it does come down to a bit of luck. And I think him getting that goal towards the end of the season will hopefully be able to help him push on next season and maybe do a bit more. I still don't see him starting. I don't see him starting games. I do see him as a squad player, but I'd rather have him here as a squad player, someone to bring off the bench in a Bielsa side than going out on loan to a championship team. I think he's too good for us to send him out on loan to anyone in the championship, and I think he benefits from staying here. So I think the numbers that we've got there are a bit low. They're on the low side. I think that was based on his first half of the season more than an overall summary, but I think he's a bit better than that gives him credit for. I think you're muted.
Let's get the numbers in then. I'm between a 6 and a 7. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6 over the season.
What's between a 6 and a 7, Oscar?
I don't know, Phil. What are you going for?
I was going to go a 7, but now because you brought it up, 6.5, mate, may as well.
Yeah, it's 7 there to start off with. Let's not get into that again. Jack, numbers-wise, what are you thinking for on Tyler?
If you've got 6, he's got 6.5. I'm going 7 because I like him.
There we go.
A 7 for me.
We'll give him a 7. Look, the majority's gone 7. We'll give Tyler a 7. He's been fine. I mean, I think a lot of it as well is just people have this expectation that he's going to produce what Pablo did in the Championship. He's 15 years younger than Pablo, and B, he's playing in the toughest league in the world for a newly promoted team. So, I don't know. I think people need to relax a bit on Tyler for me, and just back him. You know, he wants to be here. You know, you look at the determination. I think the work rate's massively improved with Tyler as well off the ball. I mean, he's actually massively involved in the press now. You know, second part of the season.
It's just that holding on to the ball too long thing that I think still hangs around and frustrates people. If he has too many touches, he can look like he's got lost. But if he releases it at the right time, I think his passing needs to improve, his decision making needs to improve. But those are the kind of things that are going to improve more under Bielsa next season, even if he sat on the bench, than they would in the Championship on loan.
This is what I said. I'm sure that them players as well, they're not daft. They understand themselves. Shit, that was a bad pass. Shit, I've made the wrong decision. And they're always going to try and improve their own game, aren't they? You know. So I think next year we could, you know, what I always think with Tyler as well, I think this has been his longest injury-free run since he's been with us as well. So he's had a good run of games. So if he keeps injury-free, and I think you could see towards back in the year, because he knew we were sort of starting many games, he was getting a little bit more confident. And I think that is massive key as well. You know, I think if he knows that, I'm going to be here more or less every other week, I do think that we could have a right player in his hands. I do. But again, I might get a lot of stick for that. That's just my honest opinion about it.
Not at all, mate. I think a lot of people have been agreeing. I think the thing is, we've got to remember Tyler's 22. This is the thing. Calvin at 22 wasn't a particularly fantastic player. I mean, to be fair, you think of Calvin at 22, it was around when Christensen was managing us, Heckingbottom was in charge. There were Leeds fans who, to be fair, wanted Calvin Phillips either out on loan, sold, out the team, or anything. I mean,
I'll one of them.
No, but look, the thing is, 6 months later, we're talking about Calvin getting to the England team. He's the best midfielder in the Championship. He's one of the best midfielders in England. It can turn around like I don't know what.
That was Bielsa changing him. Tyler's already under Bielsa.
Yeah, but give it. That's the thing, though. But if Bielsa's done it with one player, why can't he do it? But done it with numerous players, why can't he do it with Tyler?
The point was Bielsa did it with all the other players like straight away. They're not really good. Roberts.
No, of course, but players develop at different speeds. I mean, Jack Harrison wasn't a straight success. Don't forget, you know, Jack Harrison. That first season, let's be honest, Jack Harrison, it took a while for him to get going. You know, in terms of until the back end of it, and then obviously
they
last
do
season
say it takes 8 weeks to get used to what Bielsa actually expects from you in like his training regime and what he expects of you fitness wise. From reading his books, he said no player could come in and start games for him within 8 weeks without actually having a full understanding of what he wants.
Let's see how it goes. With Tyler. There's no reason for me. I don't see any reason to let Tyler go out on loan or sell him. I don't see the benefit of that now. Just keep him at the club and let's see if he develops next season. Is he a starter? Is he not? It's up for debate. Let's move on to the next player. So who do you reckon is next on the list, moving up from Tyler?
Pablo.
Okay. Tash?
I don't know.
Oh, wait. In terms of rating?
Average.
Average rating.
Yeah, I'm going Pablo. Definitely Pablo next.
Okay.
We might have been a bit too kind to Pablo, though, on occasion. Didn't we give him 10 on the last game of the season?
That wasn't kind. That was deserved.
It could sway the ratings, could it?
Sorry, I've been in and out. Have we done Flick yet?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say Flick next.
Okay. It's not. It's Pablo.
Oh, I've got to
real
2 out of 3 off Jack. Only 4 starts, though. Only 4 starts for Pablo over the season. He got 2 assists, both in the same game against Newcastle, the 5-2 win. I think it's 2 assists in 8 minutes, I think it was. I mean, look, with Pablo, I'm stunned that it's ended the way it has done. You know, after the last season, the way he finished it, I mean, after lockdown, that kind of run of 6 to 8 games where he was winning those games on his own, he dragged us over the line on his own for me in the end. And then this season, it's just never got going for him. He gets injured on the first game away at Liverpool. He comes back. Obviously, that incident with Bielsa in terms of not being happy to be substituted, and he's just not got going since then. He's played the odd good cup game. He's played the odd game for us. It's not really got going for him this season. I mean, for me, it's got to be a straightforward 6 out of 10 on Pablo for me. Phil?
Yeah, it's very difficult to go any higher than 6. I could actually go lower. I think whatever happened after the Leicester game, he didn't get himself back in. And I think looking back, even though sentimentally it's not what I wanted to see, I think Bielsa did make the right decision in that. I think he sort of decided, well, looking forward long term now, Tyler Roberts has got a lot to learn. He's got a lot of game time that he needs to pick up. He needs a run of games in this team. And although Pablo had a big influence on us towards the back end of the season prior, I think it was one of them where we prioritised giving game time to Tyler Roberts. And when Roberts wasn't playing, it was Rodrigo. And I think just Rodrigo and Roberts' influence in the team was what sort of did for Pablo this season. His age as well probably limited him anyway. But to be honest, I think we all still thought he could do it regardless of the age. I think it was just the longevity thing. We knew he was going at the end of the season, and it made more sense to give minutes out elsewhere. When he was on the pitch, I think that last game of the season was probably the only time, minus that Newcastle game, which, yeah, you can say it's 2 assists in 8 minutes, but I think the West Brom game is the only game where I've looked at him and gone, that's the Pablo of last season. There was times where he was playing, and he didn't look like that Pablo anymore. He did look like the Championship, or at least the elite level of the Championship, is his level, and maybe the Premier League at the age of 35 isn't anymore, which is sad, and I don't want to have to say that, but with Jamie Shackleton, we gave him a 6, and I thought 6 was, an average, like, being fair to him, it's not his fault the minute that he got. But with Pablo, I want to go higher out of sentiment, but on performance, I can't go higher than a 6.
Okay. Pablo actually played less minutes than Shax over the season, which is mad.
And if you look at the points per game of what we've actually achieved with these players in the side, out of every midfielder, we've actually got the lowest points per game when Pablo has played, 1.12. We got more when Shaq was on the pitch, which is 1.2. So that sort of sums up his influence on the second season compared to last season in particular.
I mean, Tash, what's your take been on Pablo? Have you been surprised by how difficult he found the step up?
I think it wasn't so much that. I think he was a bit frustrated. I don't know if him and Bielsa had a bit of a tiff and everything, which wouldn't do any favours, but I think he purposely phased him out, like you said. Like they needed to think of long term and think we can't rely on Pablo like we did last season, because we was all saying it was all like he's going to go eventually. And that, I mean, the season before you wouldn't think that he wouldn't play that as little as he did, but I think like you got Rodrigo in that. I think Rafinha coming in and creating that creative flair is kind of replacing Pablo. So I think like he knew he was going as well. So it's like in his head, it's like he didn't really need to be like, normally when you have 2 players like fighting for the same position, it's normally like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like play better. But in that terms, he didn't really need to, because he knew he wanted to go home and things like that. But I don't know. I still find it harsh to give him a 6. I just think he's still a quality player that Shackleton isn't. Like, Shackleton's a good player in that, but I still don't think at the same level as Pablo, even Pablo being retired. So I would give him maybe a bit higher. I don't know, either 6 or 7. But
Blimey, Phil, how bright's that light?
Do you want me to turn it back on?
Mate, no, I'm only messing. When he said it, I was like, flipping heck. Took me out. Jack, what's your take been on Pablo?
Sad. I'm sad how it's ended for him. I think he made a comment himself, did Pablo, that he's just not felt involved this year. you know, after everything. And obviously that last day, I'm not going to be ashamed to admit I did cry. I was gutted.
How many times did you cry?
And I'm gutted. You know what I mean? The man has left a legacy. For me, he was a Gordon Strachan of that last year's team. He was a man that, you know, obviously the Swansea goal, for me, he's up there, one of the goals that like defines Leeds United, how important it was. And the man will never be forgotten. But, you know, Bielsa's Bielsa. And there's no room for sentiment with Bielsa. You know, what Pablo did last year meant nothing this year. Yeah, he scored that goal, but obviously we scored other goals, we got other points. But all as fans, that goal was probably the most important goal of the season as a fan. When you watch, that's when I remember looking at her and I said, that's it, we've done it. We've done it. I knew, that's when I knew we'd done it. So that's why it'll always stick in your mind, that goal. But Bielsa's no sentiment. End of the day, he's not one of the greatest coaches in the world. You're not if you're not ruthless.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He's probably seen that Pablo wasn't up for it. He wants not up for it, but not up to it this year. You know, the man's old. We all wish we had Pablo at 29, 28 years old. He'd have been starting every week for us. But unfortunately, you know, age gets to everyone, doesn't it? You know, and you just can't do it. But sentiment-wise, I'm going to give him 7. But I think in my mind it's a 6 because he just hasn't played enough, has he? So I'm going to go 6.5. 6.5 for Pablo.
Oh, Jack, don't do 6.5, mate.
I'm going to go 7. And
I is 7. That's so we've got 2 7s, 2 6s. Let's round it up to a 7. Let's just round it up to a 7. That's what we do. We'll round it up because it's Pablo. We'll give Pablo a 7 out of 10. Right.
Heard that.
Yeah, they did, mate, but right, he's got a 7. He's got a 7. Right, next player. Who do you reckon the next player is?
Got to be Clicky.
It's got to be Klitsch now, hasn't it? It has to be Klitsch.
I don't know, because you said it was a shock.
Klitsch.
So
Klitsch.
maybe he's top.
I'm going to go Klitsch.
Klick's been hammered at times this season. It can't be.
I'm going to go Rodrigo.
You're going Rodrigo.
Okay.
There you go. I'm going Klitsch.
It is Click. It's 3 out of 3 for Jack.
3 out of 4, man.
I don't go for him.
Boom! 3 out of 4 for me. Hey.
What a weird season for Click, though. I mean, he starts it. I actually thought, to be honest, first 2 or 3 months, he's probably our best player for the first 2 or 3 months. He's probably the one who took to this level the best. I mean, remember it, the game at Ellen Road against City, he completely outplays De Bruyne. First game at Anfield, he scores. He's absolutely superb. And then I think it's around the time when Bielsa said he could play for any midfield in the world. His level just went, bang, just fell off a cliff in terms of his form. Obviously, look, we all know he's been playing through pain, the pain barrier big time. He's been having to take painkillers to finish games. I mean, it's not been ideal for Click. It's not been ideal at all. But then the last 2 games, he reminded us of what he's about. Tottenham at home, Burnley away. Fantastic performances. Gets himself that goal at Burnley. I mean, look, he's still finished the season with 4 goals, 5 assists. I mean, he has contributed to points directly with goals and that lot. 28 starts is nothing to be criticised either. 35 appearances all in all. I mean, it's just a weird season really for Click. I mean, it's just been literally start very good, middle absolutely the worst he's ever played for Leeds.
Yeah. Back
end of it, fantastic again. So, I mean, Tash, your thoughts on Click over the season?
Yeah, I think you just summed it up perfectly there, really. I think he had a burnout, didn't he? I just think it affected him. And yeah, and then he just scores that goal, drops the mic and walks off. See you next year. But yeah, he's done so much for us that it's hard to criticise him again. He's just been phenomenal. But yeah, he just burnt out, didn't he? I wouldn't go as far as an 8. I'd probably say 7. I think I wouldn't give him a 6 just because he was better than Shackleton, who we've given a 6. And he did make an impact for games and scored that absolute worldie at the end. I'd probably go 7. But yeah, he was just like, don't give up on me yet. I've still got it in me. So yeah.
I'll go 7 as well. I've just got that song in my head. Don't give up on me, baby. Whatever it goes. I've got that song in my head now. Thanks for that, Tash. Right, Jack, your thoughts on Click, Mr. Mateus?
I mean, again, he's another one I'm a big fan of. He's an absolutely fantastic player. But it was a weird one for me. Like I say, I think obviously we've all seen it. He started off fantastic. Then it was just that mid-season lull he seemed to have. Now, I don't know whether, like I said, he was burnt out. He played, obviously, we know he played about 983 million games on pound, or something like that. But it's like, I don't know whether he was struggling and like mentally he was tired or, physically he was tired and he just could not perform at optimum levels. And maybe his confidence dropped. I don't know. It was an hard one with Clicks because it just seemed to just like dropping a stone from the sky. It just like bang, gone. And he couldn't seem to pass a ball. He couldn't control. He could do nothing right, could he? And then he's had that bit of a break. He was out of the side, and he came back. And like you say, I mean that goal. What was game? West Brom. The goal he got against West Brom.
Burn. The one right at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's Burnley. Was it Burnley? Yeah, Burnley it was.
Anyway, I can't remember. But I mean, like you say, as Tash said, it was just like don't forget about me. He dropped the mic, and you just thought
he went before the end of the season, didn't he?
Of course, he went. Obviously, 'cause he's going for Poland.
Did anyone see his pass the other night for Poland?
No, I've heard though.
It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, what do you think, Phil, to him going to the Euros? I mean, is that good, bad, or is it just not really going to affect us too much? I'm just thinking, I hope he don't burn himself out again if Poland go far.
Man, I don't want any of our players to go there. I want them to be wrapped in cotton wool all summer. But to be fair, even if they're not at the Euros, a summer under Bielsa isn't exactly being wrapped in cotton wool either. Let's be honest, is it? So, lesser of two evils. I suppose for his career, we should want him to go and do well. So, I think if ever there was a man that needed a rest, I mean, Jack Harrison's probably up there too, but if ever there was a man in a Leeds squad that needs a rest, it is Mateus Click.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the first 138 games of Bielsa's reign, he played 135 of them or something daft like that. And then obviously he's missed a few towards the back end of the season, but he only missed one game because he was half cut when we got promoted. He just never got a rest at all, did he? So I agree with what you said. He started the season okay, dropped off a cliff, came back and did really well. But I think that period of not being good enough in any other season or in any other league side, I don't understand really why Bielsa never took him out. I would have taken him out. I would never question Bielsa, but it was one of them where I didn't really understand why he kept letting him. He wasn't playing himself out of form. It was just getting worse. I think he needed rest.
Yeah,
100%.
I think because the thing is, like, we've seen in previous seasons that, like, with Ayling, when he just kept playing him, then he got better again. And then I think, like, with Hermione said, a lot better than Falk crediting him. But I think we're being harsh because of what his standards are, not what our standards are, of a player. It's just that we know what his standards are, and he's not been good considering his standards. We're not like, I wouldn't bash him or anything. Like, he's been a brilliant player, but yeah, for his standards, I think he could have done better.
I think next season will be interesting.
It being Premier League either. I just didn't think it was in himself. Someone else mentioned that he might have had COVID as well, and I remember that around and everything. But yeah,
he starts for me next season. It's between him for that midfield place. I think it's a straight fight between him and Dallas, to be honest, in that midfield place, and it's an interesting one.
Not if Phil's boyfriend turns up. Rodrigo.
They can fight out to play next to him. Either way, Rodrigo, the ball starts.
He's not coming, mate. He's get over it, man. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm sorry to tell you, mate. So I've got 2 sevens for Click.
Send Angus. It's not happening.
He's still trying. I know, mate. I know he's trying, but
I'm going to be extremely smug when you're all wrong.
Oh, mate, I'd take it. I'd take the unbearable smugness of Phil Miles for the next year if Rodrigo de Paul is wearing our colours next season, honestly. But we've got 2 sevens to Click. Phil, out of 10.
I can't give him a 7. I'm going 6.5. If you want to round it down, round it down. But I can't give him a 7.
Okay. Jack?
I'm definitely going to 7. I am. 7 for
7.
Bleach.
We'll go for 7. We'll go for 7. It's mostly 7, so 7 out of 10. Mateus Click gets. So who is next?
Oh,
So we've got, just remind you, we've got now 3 players left. I'll just tell you, I'm not going to tell you in order, but we've got a holding midfielder, Calvin Phillips, Stuart Dallas, and Rodrigo Moreno left.
I'm going to say Rodrigo.
I'm going Rodrigo Moreno.
I'm going Calvin Phillips.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
Just ahead of Mateus Click is Rodrigo Moreno. Is that 4 out of 4?
Hey.
Deary me, saints. But I mean, 7 goals, decent return, considering he's played out of position most of the season. 16 starts, 28 appearances. I mean, it's just been a bit hit and miss, hasn't it, with Rodrigo? He started really well. He gets that goal against City in that probably one of the best games of football I've ever seen in my life. That 1-1 at Ellen Road. And then he gets COVID. He's out for a while. Then he gets an injury. He's out for more time. Then he can't get back into the team because Stuart Dallas has come into midfield. Paddy's had the season of his life, and then he just plays the last couple of games. And he reminds us all of what he's all about. I mean, those goals against Burnley. That's why we spent 27 million on this lad. There's quality there, and I still think he's had a good season. He's a 7 out of 10 for me. I do expect a little bit more, but he's still being good. I still think he's been good, to be fair, as Rodrigo Moreno. Phil, your thoughts on Rodrigo? Is he a 10, or is he a centre-forward long-term for this team?
Whatever he is, he's not.
What's up?
Jack's ruined that for me. So every time he's
no, I just think that...
Every time he's on the pitch, he goes, "Oh, Rodrigo Moreno." So every time he has the ball, he says it. He goes, "Oh, look at that Rodrigo Moreno." He
Full name. Full name job.
Like when you just said it, then it just made me think of that, and it's really put me off.
Phil, your thoughts on Rodrigo Moreno?
Yeah, I don't know, mate. I think he wants to be a 9. Bielsa's got him here and doesn't really want to give him game time as a 9 as of yet. I think next season we're going to see him as a 9. Don't think we'll see him playing anywhere near midfield next season, hopefully. I think, people know it's not just me. I think the position is something that's probably let him down a bit this season. Being played in that position is probably a contributing factor. He's come to the club not expecting to play that role, and he's struggled in it. He's struggled to adapt. It's hard enough to adapt to the Premier League. It's hard enough to adapt to a Bielsa side. Adapting to the Premier League in your first season in a Bielsa side in a position that you don't actually play, I imagine can be quite frustrating. He has had injuries. He has had COVID. It's not been the easiest of seasons for him, and minus the last few games where he strung together like 4 goals and a couple of assists in his last 4 games, it wasn't looking great for him. So I think 7 would be a bit high. I'll go 6 or 6.5, whichever one you want to take. But I thoroughly expect much better from him next season. I think we will see why we paid £27 million for him. I do think there's a player in there. When you look at the goals that he scored just against Burnley, the quality of his finishing, they're not finishing you see from Patrick Bamford. I mean, Bamford's been brilliant this season, probably one of the best players we've got. But that quality of finishing is something where I expect to see more of him playing up front next season. I think minutes-wise, Bamford won't see as much as he has this year. It's going to be really interesting to see who plays more, who scores more, and I think just the competition they have between them can drive both of them on. I think it's a good position we've got at the moment.
Yeah, exactly that. Jack, your take on Rodrigo Moreno this season?
My take on Rodrigo Moreno.
Moreno.
Rodrigo Moreno. I would never more delighted to see a Leeds player not get picked for his international side. Never more delighted. That man, a full, how many weeks rest, get back, a full pre-season under Bielsa, he will be key for us next year. Don't care. He's going to be the man for us next year. I can just see it. You can see it back in the year. Like you say, I think, as Phil just said, them goals that he got against Burnley. they're just like different. That's a different kind of level player. You know, I don't think Bamford would have got them with the speed and the support, everything. That man will be just key for us next year. And I mean, seeing how it goes again, Bielsa has this sentiment towards Bamford, but I do think that Moreno, I'm calling him Moreno now. I think
Moreno Rodrigo.
Moreno Rodrigo, I think Rodrigo could actually end up being the number one striker. So I think that is actually his preferred position, and he does want to be the out and out number 9. You know, but I think he's going to be key for us next year. I do. But as regards to, obviously, I know we're speaking about last year, but I'm going to give him a 7 from me for last year.
So I'm going to give him a 7 as well, purely for the fact that we gave Klitsch a 7 for not being consistently good. And I think it's the same with Rodrigo. Like, he was there, and then obviously not his fault why he was like suddenly got, you know, COVID and everything. But then I just think that flair, and then to start him over Bamford, who's literally like Bielsa's golden child, and like we've even joked in the past, like saying, you know, he wouldn't even drop Bamford for Messi, and he has for Rodrigo. So I think it just shows that quality that Rodrigo has got, which like flares like sparks of 8s. But yeah, I would say a 7 because of like how he's been like through the whole season. But towards the end of that, towards the end of the season, I would give him an 8. But yeah, I just think I can't wait to see him next season. And the link up that he has with players, I think is brilliant. I think sometimes Bamford could be a bit off the mark, like he'll run too far forward or too far back.
Sorry, just another thing I'm bringing here. Could you actually see Bamford and himself both playing at the same side? With him maybe just Rodrigo in the hole just behind Bamford?
Do you think? I just don't think it looks as good when we tried that. I think for me, it's 1-1. I think maybe when we're chasing the game, get them both on, get 2 players in the box and that lot. And I don't know. Just I think in the start of the game, I don't know. I don't know if it's looked that good. To be honest, I think there's been times it's done okay, but I'm thinking back to that game at then. We lost 6-2 when they both played in the same team, and Rodrigo just didn't look at all happy, you know, deeper and playing tight pockets of space and losing the ball. I'm not sure. I think obviously the pressing as well has been mentioned on Rodrigo. Yeah. For me, he's a 9. I just think he's a pure goal scorer for me. Yeah. You look at the way he took those goals against Burnley. I just think you play him up top. If Bamford loses form, he's the natural man to come in, or he might even be ahead of Bamford next season. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, I just didn't want to reply to this that comment. I mean, it's fair enough comment, but I think I remembered Rodrigo, and I said to you, look at how hard he's pressing here now, and he was chasing. He has changed. Maybe he's obviously realised. Well, we all know them players must realise Bielsa has an adamant philosophy about how we play football, and it's you chase and you run and harass. The working off the ball is as important as when you have the ball, and that's what it is. I think that part of his game will get more better.
Who was it that Newcastle guy? And I'm sure he said it about Rodrigo, and he said he won't stop running.
Oh yeah, John Joe Shelby. Yeah, he says
like, stop running. He's like, I can't. My manager has told me that I need to keep running, and he's like, you look like a nutcase just running around. So he clearly does. He knows that that's the thing now, to press, and that's how he's going to get in the team. I think everyone knows that now. I think even Rafinha, you've seen that. Like, he didn't press so much before, and I think he does now.
I don't know. Rafinha's work rate is just something else.
Yeah, but I don't think it was at the beginning. Like,
I've classed Rafinha as a luxury player, someone who's just going to give you tricks, turns. That his work rate is just different level.
I think
him and Rodrigo are key together for me. I think they've got the best understanding in the whole team for me. Him, there's something that just goes together with those two, and they know exactly what each other's going to do.
So this is what I was saying about his link up. Like, his link up with him is good, whereas I don't think Bamford is quite on the same level as the link up. But also, you got to take in consideration as well. I'm giving him 7 and that. They didn't have a pre-season really. Like, most players have had a pre-season and other seasons under Bielsa. Rodrigo didn't really.
That's why I'm so glad he was not picked for Spain.
2 weeks he had. 2 weeks between when he signed. Same with Robin Koch, actually.
Yeah. So it's going to be absolutely key in it this year. That break now. and a full pre-season whenever they go back. Obviously, the international players will go back a little bit later. But get them players back in, conditioned properly. It's going to be exciting. It is.
Love that. It is though, you know. We've got a bit of competition for Bamford now. I think throughout Bamford's time here, he's never really had that, let's be honest. Nketiah, I loved Eddie Nketiah, but he was never starting for this team because he didn't work hard enough off the ball. And then John Kevin Augustin just couldn't run full stop. And then you've got Ruth was always injured too, so it's just been Bamford on his own really. I just think now he's got that extra bit of competition that if he does, because I think the big thing with Bamford, obviously we're going to talk about it tomorrow, is we don't know if we're going to get the same Bamford next season. He's only done it for one season so far. Is he going to be able to produce the same again? We don't know either way, but we have got the insurance now of Rodrigo Moreno to come in.
That's it, exactly.
So I think we've all gone 7. We'll ignore what Phil said. We've all gone 7. Right. So we're now down to the top 2. Calvin Phillips, Stuart Dallas. Over the season, who has averaged a higher rating on our player ratings between
Who's
Phillips
higher?
Sorry. Who's lower? Sorry, that's me getting mixed up. So we're going for second now, in second place.
I'm going to go Dallas.
I'm going to go Phillips.
I'm going Dallas.
Okay.
It should be Calvin Phillips. But are we all just so in love with him?
But is it?
Every week.
I'm going to go Dallas.
Yeah, I've still got to go Calvin. Yeah.
Okay, so Jack's gone Dallas, Tash and Phil have gone Calvin.
Because Phillips has been out. Dallas hasn't.
All right.
Mate, if Jack gets it right,
Jack's 5 out of 5.
you've shown him this list before we started.
How many is that? Now what's that? I've got
All of
5
it.
out of 5.
I've only got one more.
What I say is, though, it's worked against Dallas that he's played every game because Calvin's played less games and he's, Dallas had a couple of games at the start of the season where he got quite low marks, actually. It's worked in Calvin's favour on this. But anyway, Stuart Dallas, averaged a 7, played every game, started every game, 8 goals, 2 assists, his best goal scoring season for Leeds United, his best goal scoring season of his career in England. What a season, though. What a season for Stuart Dallas. I mean, at times he's just been absolutely unbelievable. Player of the season by a mile. I don't really care what we've said out in our nonsense player ratings over the season. He is the player of the season by a mile. They're not nonsense. Please watch him next season as well. Please do watch him next season. But it's weird, isn't it? I did not expect this at all, that Stuart Dallas would only be 7. But he's just been, because he's just pretty much every game has either been a 7 or an 8. And it's just worked out that way. There was one bad game down at Chelsea. One, obviously, that Brighton game where everyone was shocking, and that Arsenal 4-2 game. The rest has been at least a 6. It sums up his consistency. I'm actually close to a 10 out of 10 here for Dallas because of the goals he's scored for this team. I'm genuinely close to a 10 out of 10. I think I'm going to stick with 9, though. Rhiannon's not going to speak to me now for the next 2 years because I've just said that. But I set very, very, very high standards for going 10 out of 10. It's a 9 out of 10 for me on Stuart Dallas. But I'm happy to go to 10. Tash, your thoughts on there?
Go Phil first.
Yeah, Phil, actually. Go on, Phil.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go so high. I was going to go 8.5, but I'll go up to a 9.
8.5 for Stuart Dallas.
I don't think anybody's like 9.
8.5 for Stuart. 8.5 for Stuart Dallas. 8.5.
He's my player of the season. I've already said that. I think for what we expected of him, he's had the best season by some distance. I think the reason that Calvin will get the top on these averages is perhaps because of the little loving we have because he's Yorkshire Pirlo. We love him and we're all very affectionate towards him in comparison to everybody else. Yeah, Dan, you go up. I think we've come up. We've done an excellent job. We've had one player that, for me, has had the moment of the season, and that was Dallas at Man City away. I've given him every single player ratings I've done, a 7.5 every time, and I say the same thing every time, and you get peed off at me every time. I think he guarantees.
I wonder why.
He's our new age James Milner. He guarantees you at least a 7.5 every week. He's just extremely reliable, covers every blade of grass. A bit like I used to say the same thing about Snodgrass when he was here. You can just rely on him in any position on the pitch. I think he's someone that I'd be surprised if he had the same influence next season. If he does, then I'll be bumping it up to 9s and 10s. But
it feels like I hate to say it, but it almost feels like a once in a lifetime kind of season this for Dallas, where he's got himself 8 goals. Everything he's hit is just found the back of the net. I'd love to. He'll be good again next season, but will he be like this good again next season?
Don't forget,
if
all
he
those
is, fair play.
come against like Man United, 2 against Man City. Like he loves scoring against the top 6 clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
I made up my mind.
Okay.
I'm going to give him a 10 for scoring.
Yes, I love that.
For scoring against Scum.
Oh, what a goal that was! Honestly, if that's like an equaliser or the winner, that's just. Yeah. Joe had to go at me for this, but we've talked about that for 100 years. If that's it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable strike, isn't it? Let's be honest.
So it's just we were 6-1 down at time, weren't we?
I know, but it's a great goal. It's a great goal. I mean, yeah, the damage had been done by them, but it's still a good goal.
Yeah, but that's his never give up. He plays any position. I'm still keen to see him playing goalkeeper position, just to see what he'll do.
When Melier's injured.
Yeah. Rather him than Kiko. Yeah, love you too, Rhiannon. But yeah, what a player, Rhiannon Pumas. He's a brilliant player.
I don't exactly. 100 years, 1,000 years. What you want to say? The quality of that goal was unreal. I do thoroughly intend to live to 120. I do thoroughly intend to live to them. So yeah, let me have this, Mike. Let me have this, mate. Yeah. Big up.
If it's overall a 9, I would agree, because obviously there's room for improvement with everyone. Definitely not an 8.
0.5.
0.5.
Don't forget the 0.5. That's
when you round that up, it is 9 according to Oscar. So I haven't actually gone that low.
Okay. So we've got 2 9s and a 10.
See?
Jack, you have got the deciding vote here, man.
Deciding vote, right. Well, my opinion is Stuart Dallas. I'll be truthful. Start season, I've got that thing, and it ends in pie and it has humble in front of it. I said that I thought that Dallas and Ayling would struggle this year. And I will admit, I said that. Stuart Dallas has been a revelation this year. Deserved every single accolade he's got. Player of the year, the most important one, Players Player of the Year. For me, that is always the most important, but that's your own players actually recognising what you've done for the side. I seen him after the Players Awards thing and how much they all loved him and the camaraderie, everything. Stuart Dallas this year has exceeded all expectations for me. Yeah. He's been absolutely immense. I mean, we're talking about the goals that he's got. Obviously, the Man City one, I think that got goal of the year. Even though it wasn't goal of the year, it's probably it was a goal of the year for how it made us all feel. But it wasn't like the most fantastic goal. It was the goal, wasn't it, that we'll all remember this year, the Man City one. But yeah, Stuart Dallas, he's been absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy for him, because he's an honest bloke as well, and I think he's been here a few years now. He gets what Leeds is. I think he's happy here, and will he do it next year? I think he will. I think he will improve, because I think he's just got every attribute. I mean, he can play in every position, which is, to have a player like that can actually, right, we're struggling at right back, go there, Stuart. We're struggling centre midfield, go there, Stuart. We're struggling CDM, go there, Stuart. And he'll do a job.
As well,
he'll do a job every single week. I mean, I think there was a game earlier on, and Strauch was he was playing CDM, and he was struggling with his pass. He was going back, and Dallas got hold of him, threw him out of the way, said, "I'll show you how to make that ball go forward, mate." And he took over it, and it was a different game.
They were just trusted in him, didn't they, to go forward?
And I think that's a big thing as well. If you look at them players, they trust him as well. You trust him when he's got the ball. You don't panic when he's got the ball. He's just so calm. So it's a 9, definite 9 for me.
Okay. So yes, we've got 3 9s. We've gone a 9 out of 10. We've got a 9 out of 10 for Stuart Dallas, but I think we can all agree he's been player of the season by. Well, did we get? Is it 82% of the vote? I think he got something. Something mad like that. I think I might be wrong on that. Someone might correct me in the live comments here. But
he put Melier as well. I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you could do like 2 votes, couldn't you?
Yeah, but he was a young player.
Oh no, sorry, not in like the Leeds one. I think it was on like BBC or something. You could have like 2 or 3 votes, and I did put Melier because I think he's been consistently good throughout the whole. There's only one game, and I think he's been just as good as Dallas. Like in terms of.
I'd say, to be fair, in terms of seconds, probably the bigger debate. I mean, for me, it's between Melier and the last person we're going to speak about on this. I mean, between that probably been the top 3, to be honest, those 3. But of course, last player to talk about, who has actually got the highest average by a mile.
That's 6 out of 7 tonight, anyway. 6 out of 7.
There you go. It's 6 out of 6 for Jack. Calvin Phillips, 7.41, 30 appearances, 29 of which are starts, and he got himself a goal and 2 assists this season. I mean, let's be honest, it's not been the ideal season for Calvin in terms of the way it started. He picks up that injury early doors from Raul Jimenez against Wolves. And then he comes back into the team. And then after that, to be fair, he's been consistent. Then had another spell out the team, kind of February, March time, came back into the team, and the season just completely took off. Mikey White's absolutely top class. That made £15 donated to the channel there. Legend is Michael 20 / the Mikey Whites. Legend of a man. I mean, what a season for Calvin. You know, for me, looking at the England highlights, because I couldn't bear watching the full game, just the highlights, he's got to start for England at the Euros. There's no debate about that now. There's no debate about it, that he's the best out-and-out holding midfielder in this country. The evidence is there. Our defensive record since he's come back into the team has been fantastic. What a season for Calvin Phillips. It's an easy 9 out of 10 for me on Calvin as well. Phil?
Yeah.
Thoughts on?
I think Calvin Phillips, out of, I might go out on a limb here and maybe people will say I've gone too far, but I think out of every team in the top half of the table, there's not one player that's more important to their individual team than Calvin Phillips is to Leeds United. I think when you take him out of the team, we've struggled to, up until the last few games of the season, when I would say that it's not really fair to judge on that part. On the vast majority of the season, when he's not played, we have struggled big time. He does a job that only he can do. He does a job that I wouldn't take. I wouldn't take N'Golo Kante for that position in our team. I genuinely think he's the best in the country at that role, and Bielsa's turned him into a machine. He's turned him into something completely different to what he was a few years ago. And, you know, that should fill us with confidence when it comes to players like Tyler Roberts and Jamie Shackleton. They're only young. And Calvin Phillips is, like you've just said, and the same in my opinion, I think he should start every game for England at the Euros. I expect him to start every game at the Euros. And if he's not on the pitch, I probably won't be watching that much because they're garbage to watch in general. So he is basically the only reason England are worth watching. So if England bring it home, it's all Calvin Phillips' fault. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So what are you going for out of 10?
I'd go 8 out of 10. I think he's been absolutely solid. He's adjusted to life in the Premier League really well. I don't think we can give him a 9 or a 10. He's not had. I don't think he's had the best season of his career, to be honest. I think he had a better season in the Championship.
But different levels, though. Different levels. I mean, I think the way he's adapted to this league, to be honest, it's even better than what I thought he'd do. I thought at times he might struggle there in terms of when you're coming up against De Bruyne's, Fernandez's, Son's, Kane's, all these kind of players. I thought maybe from time to time he might struggle, but
I think he's
that job he did on Fernandez.
Yeah,
I mean, he got 10 out. We gave him a 10 out of 10 on that game.
Yeah. No, he's adapted absolutely fine, and to be honest, I expected him to, and perhaps I think the reason his average is higher is I think there is just a love him with all Leeds fans, and naturally because he's Calvin Phillips, he's Leeds born and bred just like us. We want to see him do well. I didn't feel him much. No, I do think he's. Why? I'm not going. We've done fantastically well, but next season I'm hoping we get into Europe and I can start handing out tens at left, right, and centre. But we've done well, and they will go back into training tomorrow or whenever they're back in pre-season and go right. We start again.
Mate, we could win the Champions League final and you'll still be giving 7.5s.
No. No,
You won't.
If we finished in the top 7 next year, I'd be giving 10s left, right, and centre.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you would. Jack, your thoughts on Calvin this season?
My thoughts on Calvin. Well, first I'll go back a couple of years. Obviously, before Bielsa came, I'll admit when Ronaldo Vieira got sold, and I knew we were keeping Calvin, I'll admit I was fuming. I was truthful, and I just couldn't see why they were keeping Calvin and not Ronaldo Vieira. But again, it's that pie and humble for me. Calvin, obviously, the championship years he was fantastic, but this year he has not looked out of place. The only game that I can remember this year where I think he was beaten by the better man with Chelsea away and Kante gave him a lesson. And I think that Calvin himself actually said, that is how the perfect midfielder is. You were talking about Kante. He said, I just could not get near him. No matter what I did, how much I chased him, I just could not get the ball off him. Every time I tried to control it, he'd nip in and take it off me. And Calvin admitted that himself. That's the only game. But apart from that, he's been brilliant. And if he's not starting in Gareth Southgate's defensive midfield, then, there's something wrong in there, when he's got Henderson, Rice and Phillips, 3 similar players, which, that's a different thing, but Southgate's an absolute clown for me, but I think that he's been fantastic. But you just keep talking about Calvin and Calvin and Calvin, don't you? He's just getting better and better and better every single game. Every season, he's just improving and improving and improving. And now he's like one of England's best midfielders. So that just says, for me, that's testament to Bielsa more than anything, I think. I do. Is it all throws this? No. Just like everyone's just like that, but yeah. No, Calvin. I'm going to give him an 8 this year, Calvin.
Yeah.
It's an 8.
I think Tash is about to turn around to you and just give you the evils down for the rest of this video.
I've been debating an 8 or a 9 because, giving Dallas a 9.
That's what I say. I can't. Dallas for me has been player of the year, so I can't.
For some reason, I always thought. I always thought Calvin had a red card this season, but he didn't, did he?
No.
Only Cooper got sent off.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he has.
Did he get injured?
No.
That way he went missing?
Yeah, he got injured. In fact, I've got it here. So we got injured from mid-October to mid-November, and then late January to early March. So he's not had the easiest. He's only actually played. He started less than 30 games, which is very unlike Calvin, which kind of sums it up, really.
Well, I just think, I think I'll give him an 8. I don't know, because the thing is, Dallas. I think Dallas did really well in his role, and when he was out, and he took over Strout because Strout was struggling, and he was just like, look, come here, this is how Phillips does it. If you want to replicate, just go forward. Whereas, obviously, Pascal was more defensive, but I don't know. It's really hard to decide between an 8 and a 9. But I just think, we rely on him so much. We build up the team from him, and what?
I just don't
put me off now. You're like.
No, just no.
What's the train of thought?
I just want to reiterate what Phil said there earlier. When you talk about players from different teams and how important they are, you say Leeds United, and you will always say Calvin Phillips. that's testimony to how good he is for us. You know, if you say the one player that Leeds got tick without is Calvin Phillips, and it is, we don't play the same way if Calvin is not in the side, and I think it's been proved a couple of times this year. We're not the same side, so it shows how important he is.
I mean,
to us.
Phil did some stats for us before we came live, and it was, what's it, 1.77.
Yeah,
that's like
he's again now. So out of all the players that have played 15 games or more, the only player with a higher points per game ratio was Diego Llorente with 1.8, and he only played 15 games. So realistically, Calvin Phillips is the most important player in our team.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
I mean, when it's something like out of 5 games, we'd like lost 4 or something, weren't it? Like that he weren't.
I think at one point it was 8 games that he hadn't played, and we'd lost 7 of them. We'd only won that Villa game when he came off, and then Patrick.
Yeah. So I mean, like we all know how crucial he is and everything. So there's not much more you can say. Like he's just so crucial. Like the team is built around him. And I actually remember one of our friends said to Jack, "Oh, he's going to be in England and all this lot," and you were like laughing, going, telling him to F off and everything. And there's no chance.
I remember this as well.
This was about 4 years ago, bear in mind. Like, but
that's a good shout, though. Whoever's called it, it's a good shout.
It is, to be fair. To be fair to him, he's seen something about him which I didn't, and you know,
obviously Bielsa did as well. But
obviously Bielsa did as well, didn't he? You know, Bielsa knew. That's why he got rid of Ronaldo Vieira, which I just at that time I thought, this is madness. Absolute madness.
And like you say, like the players that he's been up against as well. I mean, they've all been up against tough players in the Premier League, but I just think, Calvin has put quite a few of them away in his pocket and just made it look easy.
He has.
I'd go as far to say it that if Calvin or Rafinha either got injured, suspended, or sold in the summer, which hopefully the latter is not happening, if that happens, there's not a chance we finish in Europe. There's not a chance. There's not a chance we finish where we did this season. If either of those 2 players, especially Calvin, if he's out for a sustained amount of time next season, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. That's the only slight concern I've got with like that reliance on him in that position. That, dearie me, we need some backup.
That's the thing. When Phillips, that's when we dipped in performance when Phillips was out. That was when I think we were shaky in the mid, and it's like he didn't. It's not just that the fact that we miss him. He makes all the players around him better, and they start looking a bit shaky in that without him. So they're not up to. When you take Phillips away, all the others go lower in level. For me.
That's the main compliment you can give him. Robin Koch or Pascal Struijk playing that position, you can tell they're a defender playing that position. But with Calvin, yes, it is a defensive role as such. But I said the other night, he contributes to all of our attacks. He's the way we build up from the back. So he's not just a defensive midfielder. He's a ball-playing single pivot. And you can tell
that long balls that he does. He's just.
Well, I mean, I think I've seen it. Obviously, silly season journalism has just started. What was it? 52 million for Rafinha or something yesterday. Liverpool, and I'm just like, we're going to get a lot of this summer, aren't we? We are. I mean, you won't buy Rafinha's left toe for 32 million. Never mind him as a player. And I trust in the board and the chairman and everything that we've got now. We're not a selling club. Why do we need to sell these players? You'll sell Rafinha for 52 million. Who are you going to find to replace him? That's not the club we are no more. And I think that people need to get this into their heads. You know, these lazy journalists, they annoy you so much, don't they? You know, and just clickbait. It's clickbait, isn't it? Yeah, it's at the same time. But it is. It makes you mad, though, doesn't it? It's crackers.
I do think there will be people that want Rafinha. And I think it's natural that people will try and bid for him.
Of course they will, but when you're talking 32 million, you just give it over. Come on. No. Silly.
By the sounds of it, there's been no offers yet anyway.
Well, let's...
It looked like he wanted to leave after, what was he, West Brom game?
Well, I mean, he's made the noise as well, Rafinha, that he wants to stay. He has made the noise when I think it's in an interview of Brazilian media, I think it was, but he made the noises that he wants to stay at Leeds. But look, it's Liverpool fans for you. Like, Liverpool fans are massively watching in this as well, in terms of, you know, they think they've got a right to any player. I think any team in the top 6, when they link with a player, they think they've got this right to have him and all this lot. But it doesn't quite work like that, lads. It doesn't quite work like that. You've got to pay a pretty hefty fee to get him. But let's leave it there anyway. That's we've gone through all our midfielders there. It's been good fun again. We're going to do the forwards and the wingers tomorrow. So we're going to see who's the best rated winger, who's the best rated striker. We're going to, or just striker. There's not like no one else has played up front. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Check that out tomorrow, guys. Same time tomorrow.
1 minute, mate. Have we got a fantasy football game that you want to plug anywhere?
We have, mate, and I was just about to plug it. David, mate.
We're like a double act, mate. Go on, off you pop.
So we have got a fantasy football game. We're teamed up with Scarito. Check them out. You either need to download the Scarito app or search for them online. Scarito, the link is in the description down below. It's a combination of fantasy football and predictions. You pick 4 players to score in each round of the tournament. You predict each score in the tournament and you predict the overall winner. You need to have joined by the 11th of June. The first game is on the 11th of June. You need to have signed up by then. Scarito, totally free to join. It would be $2.99 to join any other league, but this one is totally free to join. We will be having a prize on offer for the winner. We're not exactly sure what that'll be yet, but we'll do something. I'm sure we'll do something for the winner of this one. So yeah, get involved, guys. And the motivation at the end of the day is to beat us. Can you finish above the whole of your Leeds TV team? Can you do it? You at least want to finish above Phil. That's a minimum, isn't it? That's the minimum goal. Yeah, I guess we'll leave it there anyway, guys. Make sure you smash the like on this video, hit that subscribe button, because we'll have plenty more content in the next couple of days coming up, starting from tomorrow with the player ratings for the forwards and wingers. But yeah, I guess we will leave it there anyway, guys. See you later.